Hey everyone, welcome to today's stream of React 2025. In today's stream, we're going to be talking about Stripe and setting up subscription payments. So here's an outline of some of the things I want to cover today. There's a few bugs that I found that I want to show you how I resolved. We're going to set up Stripe. We are going to look at the Stripe Firebase extension, which just came out. Super excited about this. Which uses Firebase functions under the hood. I'm going to talk about those, maybe some pros and cons. Ideally, we're going to implement a way to redirect to the Stripe checkout when you want your user to sign up for a subscription. And then they also have this new customer billing portal that's going to save us a lot of custom code. And eventually, I want to have some kind of pricing tier checks in. Might look at that. And then I realized that I haven't set up anything related to SEO as far as page titles, so I want to quickly add in Next SEO to kind of handle some of that for us, as well as favicons. I want to quickly go over a few bugs that I noticed and talk about a little bit of the redesign that I'm doing on this homepage. So on the homepage, I want to give a demo of leaving comments on a site, and I want that to be the fast feedback site. Right now it is hard-coded. Right now it's hard-coded as the Lerob site, but I want that to be fast feedback. So what I have started to do is rearrange this a little bit to where we're using get static props similar to the actual individual page for a site to fetch all of the feedback for that site. And then it's going to get forwarded to that component. And then down below, basically exactly the same as we're doing on an individual site's page. It's just going to list out this feedback, which if you looked at the top, this revalidates and will re-render each time. A new request will come in after 1 second. In the background, this page will rebuild, and then it will update the cache with the newest version. I want to do that, so I started to get some of the groundwork in for this and a few other interesting bugs I want to show. So first things first, I'm going to sign in. And to show one of them, let me just pull up my diff. I noticed that when I was adding new sites, it wasn't properly reorganizing them by the time that they were created. So what I did was, in this mutation to add a new site, I went ahead and put the new site first, and then spread the rest of the old information. So before, while it was putting this first, we basically flipped the order around here. That, in combination with sorting these based on the time, allows me to say, let's say I want to add a new site, fast feedback, and I hit create. It now pops up at the top of the table, which I think is just a little bit more clean experience overall. The next bug that I found is, if you remember in the prior stream, we made it so that it adds the ID here so that the URL is correct. If I click into here, when this was deployed, it wasn't actually working because the page hadn't been statically generated. So what I did was, when I look at this specific page for this site ID, using this fallback true property will allow the page to render in a loading state, and in the background, it's going to actually execute this function. So what it's going to do is it's going to fetch the information about the site and then forward that down to the component. So only if we have feedback, if this is rendering in a loading state for the first time here, we're going to wait to render that feedback. So this allows us to build this page on the fly and not have to worry about waiting for a full rebuild. I also made it so that if for some reason things were going really, really slow, the button is disabled if we are in that fallback loading state. And then one other nice thing, I cleared out the current value of the input when you add new comments. So we'll say fast feedback allows you to easily add comments to your site. And you see then it clears out the input if you wanted to leave another comment, just a little bit more seamless of an experience. So one thing I want to do is, you see this site ID. I'm going to take this, I'm going to go back to the dashboard. I'm going to log out, and I want to touch on one other bug. So inside of here, if you remember in the prior stream, I talked about when signing in, we wanted to redirect to the dashboard. I had incorrectly put this redirect back to the home page for sign out as part of the else block inside of here. So what was happening was, if I tried to view a page unauthenticated, it was trying to redirect back to the home route. So in reality, this should only redirect back when you click sign out. And that's just a little bit smoother of an experience. So I've signed out, and I mentioned that these comments on this home page are not from the fast feedback site. So I'm going to update this site ID. And just a reminder for those of you maybe who are joining in new, all the data that we're looking at here is still in my staging or my development database in Firebase. When I'm actually ready to take this thing to production, what we're going to do is basically create a copy of the database and update our environment variables so that when we're differentiating between the development or the preview environments with Vercel versus the production environment, we'll actually talk to a different database. So you see I updated my site ID so that when this reruns, it will actually fetch comments for the fast feedback site. So I'm hoping to deploy this and allow people to actually leave comments as a demonstration of how this will work. But without further ado, let's jump into what today's stream is all about, and that is going to be setting up Stripe. Now, one really exciting thing that happened that I did not know about until about 3 days ago was that Firebase has a new extensions beta that has been released. So the whole pitch here is that it allows you to have these prepackaged solutions that will save you time. So maybe you want to resize images on the fly. Maybe you want to send emails directly out of Firebase, which I can already see a use case for this that would be super nice. Deleting user data, translating text, shortening URLs, lots of really awesome stuff here. But the one that really has me interested is running subscription payments with Stripe. So basically, this is going to automate a lot of the code that I was going to have to write anyway. I had started to look into what it takes to integrate Stripe in Next.js, and I was going to need to create some API routes that run as serverless functions that would allow me to do things like utilize Stripe checkout and then also redirect to the Stripe billing portal, the customer portal. The reality is they did all the work for me. So we're going to talk about some of the pros and cons of this, maybe why you would want to use it and maybe why you wouldn't. But I'm really interested to try it out and to see if I can get it working, because I think it would save me a lot of time. So I'm just kind of going to wing this, install it, and see what happens. Okay, I want to install this extension. It's going to sync my Firebase authentication with Stripe. So it's going to set up 4 different cloud functions. When a customer is created, when a checkout session is created, a link to the portal for managing payment and subscription details, and then also another one to handle webhook events. So when we update products or customers or any of that information inside of Stripe, it emits webhooks that will then communicate with these Firebase functions that it's deploying that will then update data in our Firestore database as well as the Firebase authentication. So just to quickly talk about some of the pros and cons here, right? This is now creating 4 new Firebase functions. So rather than doing API routes as serverless functions on Vercel, we now have new infrastructure in another place. This could be seen as a pro or con depending on the way you look at it. Some people might want to have all of these things living in one spot. At least where my head's at right now is that this will allow us to get to an MVP state faster, which I think is really important when you're building your SaaS product. You don't know if it's going to be a hit or not. Ideally, you've done some kind of market research and you want to get some beta customers on, but you want to iterate as much as you can and get something out there. And this is going to allow me to do that a little bit faster. So to do this, we have to update from the free plan to the Blaze plan, which is the pay-as-you-go plan. Okay, I'll probably put a budget alert on there to make sure that my dev environment doesn't go crazy. So we need access to Firebase authentication and the data store. So it's going to make a service account that has the proper access to do that. We want to deploy these functions in the central location. At least that's where I'm located, so we'll do that for now. The product and pricing plans. Okay, we'll make a collection under products. Customer details. I believe. Yeah, it's called users. Stripe API key with restricted access. Okay, I need to go back to here to figure out what to do for this. Okay. Before installing, set up the following Firebase services. We have Firestore and authentication set up, and then go over to our Stripe dashboard and create a new restricted key. Okay. I know I saw a little bit more verbose version of what resources I'm going to need to do here, but first things first, I want to show you what I have set up in Stripe so far. So before this stream, I went ahead and made an account with Stripe. It is just a test account, and I set it up where right now we're only looking at test data. We have to activate it to actually get live data in here. But this is at least giving me a playground for Firebase to integrate with Stripe. The other thing that I did was I went to, well, first I have some kind of fake users in here, fake customers, but then I went to the branding settings, and it allows you to just upload an icon, a logo, some colors to customize what the Stripe provided interfaces look like. And this is the really neat part to me. Without having to do any code, Stripe is going to give us this checkout portal that handles all of the difficult things about accepting payments online, right? Gives you all of this fields, whether you're on desktop or mobile, and it looks pretty good for as far as matching my brand colors and using my logo, as well as the customer portal. And I believe we can actually get a demo of this somewhere in here. So this is what it will look like when someone is on our account page and they want to go in and update some information about their plan. Right now, let's say I'm on the premium plan. I could cancel that. I could update it. It shows the card I have. I can change cards. All of this code that I don't have to do myself, because that would just take a while, and really, who wants to manage payments? Like, we want to offload that to our payment provider as much as possible. So I'm really excited about this. Just looking at the comments in the chat, it says Blaze plan is required. Does that mean that you have to pay for it in some form? No. So it is pay as you go. So you go up to the allowed tiers, and then if you exceed those tiers, then you would pay. It's kind of similar to Vercel, where you have a free tier, but then if you want to exceed certain limits, which are defined in their documentation, then you would pay as you go or usage for the things on top of that. Yep, looking at the pricing page, and it's based on usage. Correct. So here's the customer portal. I think it's going to save me writing a lot of hand-rolled code myself, so I want to try that out. And actually how I stumbled on this was I saw a tweet from the Firebase developer account talking about this new extension, and then I also saw Jared Palmer put out this minimum viable SaaS repo, which is very similar to what I want to accomplish using this extension. And the nice thing about it was he saved some of the readmes that I was looking for. So I've read through this one time, and this was what I was referencing when trying to set up also the webhooks and the what did it call it here? The API key with restricted access. So we'll be able to reference this as well. So inside of our Stripe dashboard, if we go to the Developers tab, we should be able to generate an API key. And this is going to be a restricted key. And it has write access to customers, checkout session, and customer portal. Oh, I could just do this. Customers, checkout session, customer portal. That's not what I wanted. I thought that was going to filter it. Read-only access for the subscription resource. Okay, I think that was everything. We'll call this Firebase Dev Database, or sure. So I'm going to take this test token over to here for our dev database. Stripe webhook secret. This is what we're going to get after the fact. Okay. Let's install this extension. This should take 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, cool. So in the meantime, I can kind of show a demo of what this will look like. The extension provides an example app, and that's what this is. So they're using the Firebase UI package that sets up these buttons for you. I have mixed feelings about that. I mean, it's definitely nice that you can just import the package and get it all for free. I do find it kind of strange looking in here. That's what this is, this Firebase React UI. It's kind of interesting that it doesn't allow server-side rendering, so you have to do a little bit of a hack here. Plus, I already have a lot of this already done, like setting up the buttons to log in with the providers and then taking that data and saving it as a cookie. This was kind of based off the Next.js Firebase example template. So I'm fine with the way that we're currently doing it. So let's try this. I'll sign in with Google. Should be very similar in the Fast Feedback app. So it loads, and you're able to view the different packages that you have. So we're gonna have one that's the basic tier, one that's the premium tier, and we can use the 4242 Stripe card. So let's say I'm on the free tier right now and I wanna upgrade to basic. This is gonna take us over to the Stripe checkout page. And ours will be branded to look like Fast Feedback. Then inside of here, we can use Stripe's fake cards. I think it just takes like anything here, basically. Yep, so really the only thing that matters there is the 4242 card. So going back, it redirects you back to your application. It says which plan you're on. You're on the basic plan. And now let's say that I want to do anything related to my customer payment. I want to change to a different subscription. I want to change my payment methods. We can also then create a link back into that customer portal, which will allow us to manage that full life cycle of an account in Stripe. So another really cool thing here, when you created that subscription, when that got updated inside of Stripe, it fired a webhook that then communicated with your Firebase database and updated information about customers. So this is the customer portal. You see I'm on the basic plan. I have some payment methods. Let's say maybe I want to update this plan and I want to go to the, let's go to the premium plan. Like this UI it's not doable. Like you could totally build this yourself, but when you're trying to launch something and get it off the ground, it's really, really nice that Stripe just handles all of this for you. So now I'm on the premium plan. If I went back, I should see that updated here. Nice. So now on that user, it has a role of premium, and we can use that role to then restrict or grant access to certain things inside of the application. So that's a quick demo. Let's see how this is going. It's almost done. Let's go back over to here, and I want to read through this README again. So we want to limit access to authenticated users only. Just a reminder, these Cloud Firestore rules apply to the client side only. So I already have some of this started, but we can, let's see, yeah, we'll take this, we'll go back to our Firestore and go over to our rules. Let me refresh. So I've already started on some rules on the client side, and I'll kind of just run through what I have right here. For the users table, you should only be able to read or write if you're a user. Feedback, you should only be able to read if you own it, delete if you own it, update it if you're the owner, etc. Same with sites. This might change, but it was a good start, at least for now, to make sure that things weren't left wide open. So what we want to do, I'm just going to copy paste this in here. Our customer collection was user, so users at ID, so this is the same one. Allow read write if request auth user ID equals user ID, which is basically exactly what we're doing right here. But we also need to then have checkout sessions and subscriptions. So they're nested resources underneath that user. Allow read write if user. Okay, and then this is the products collection, which I believe that we called products, and that's at some ID. Allow reading, don't allow writing, prices, reading, don't allow writing. We're not allowed to write because Firebase is going to be listening for the webhook from Stripe that's managing the full life cycle of products and prices. We don't have to do anything with that. It's all taken care of behind the scenes through Stripe. Okay, that looks good. Next, we need to configure Stripe webhooks. So we need to set up a webhook that synchronizes that information between Stripe and Firestore. So go to our dashboard and set up a webhook. add an endpoint. Okay, so the extension installed. This is that same README that I was reading over here. Go to the Stripe dashboard. Here's the URL. Okay. Communicating with Firebase Dev Database. Which options do we want to send? Product created and updated. Price created and updated. Checkout session completed. Customer subscription updated and deleted. Customer subscription created, customer subscription updated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. That looks good. Add endpoint. Okay, it's enabled. We can see logs of successes or failures. So now we need to take the secret and replace it inside of Firebase so we can make that configuration. So I believe inside of extension configuration, right? We didn't fill this out when we first installed it, but now we take the Stripe webhook and we're going to fill this out. So we're going to reconfigure. We'll go to here, take this, and go back to here, and reconfigure. Three to 5 minutes again. They got to work on their times here. It's probably because it has to rebuild and redeploy all those Firebase functions, will be my guess. So that looks okay. The next thing is product and pricing information. So what I did inside of my dashboard, and this is definitely subject to change. I'm not sure what I want to do here yet as far as the pricing of the product, but I want to have 2 different levels. I was initially thinking like a starter one that's, you know, some lower value per month, and then a premium tier, which is basically unlimited access to a lot of different things. On my mock landing page, like this is kind of what I was thinking. Something like one site and maybe up to 1,000 pieces of feedback. And then if you do premium, you can get basically as much as you want, plus customizing styles and some kind of priority support. It's kind of what I had in my head, but definitely subject to change. Where is that? Yeah. This was my mock-up for the user account dashboard where you would click to manage billing. I don't think we'll get this whole thing designed and built today, but we can at least get the button that goes to manage billing. So I've already set up these products, but what we will want to do... Oh, one thing I should mention, just quickly reading through here, it only allows us currently to do somewhat basic type of pricing plans. So if you need to do something really complex with pricing tiers or seats, it's not supported yet, but I'm guessing it will probably be supported soon based on the Stripe team works pretty quickly. But what we do want to do is we want to add a custom role to our products. What this is going to do is allow us to do easy checks on the auth to determine whether I'm on the free tier, which would be no token, I'm on the basic or the premium plan. So to do that, we add the Firebase role as a metadata value on the Stripe product. Okay, I don't have to wait on this page. That's good to know. what does this screenshot look like? So we click on advanced options, we add a Firebase role, and then, okay. One thing I do want to check. So right now, because the webhook isn't configured, we haven't seen it sync back with our Firebase database. So I do want to wait until this is done, so that ideally when I go into the Firebase dashboard and I say for starter, I want to edit the details, advanced options, metadata, Firebase role of starter. When I hit save here, it will trigger that webhook, which then should communicate back to Firebase if I hopefully configured things right. So I want to wait until that finishes to see if it's working. So for now, I'll just keep reading. I'll do that for both products. And then on the client side, we will be able to do checks. We could also do this on the server side. We already configured the Stripe Customer Portal. Oh, actually, I don't know if I did this. I did branding. Allow customers to update their payment methods. Yep. View their billing history, update subscriptions. Cancel subscriptions. The products are on here that they should be able to manage. So that looks fine. So demo source code on GitHub. The quickest way to add new users is with the Firebase UI library. Debatable. I mean, it is faster, but we already have that done here. This is, I think, what I want to do first. List out the products and the prices. Actually, this would probably be better to do first because, to be honest, it's nice that I have that sync back and forth between Firebase and Stripe. I don't think I'm going to change anything for now, and I'm not ready to do the landing page. Really, I just want to have something like this, right? I just made a new account, and I go to sites, and to make a site, I need to have the starter tier. So clicking on this button should take me to the checkout. Okay. So we'll create a new document in the checkout sessions collection for a user. The extension will update that document with the Stripe checkout ID, and then we use that to redirect. So it generates a unique ID that we do on the server side, forwards that back, and then allows you to redirect to that page. So our configuration was updated. I don't think we'll need to do anything else here. So let me save a Firebase role of starter. And then premium. Let's edit this. Advanced options, metadata, premium. If I can spell. So now if I go to developers, webhooks, I would expect to be able to see, okay, I see the events created here. There's also a log of creating those products and prices. Let's go back to Firebase. Let's see if the product's synced. Awesome, okay. I'm so glad that that worked. That is crazy. Role of premium, name premium, description. It is an active product. Starter. Nice. Okay, for users, This one I'm really interested to see what happens because I'm pretty sure that it just adds new fields into this collection. But basically we know that the connection between the webhook with Stripe and Firebase is working. So that's awesome. So let's try this. What it should do is go to our users table based on the ID, create a checkout session, and then add, so this form data.getPrice, there's a unique, I don't think this is like actually the price, $50 or whatever. I think this is the unique ID of the price object in Stripe, which is probably why this is the first step, which is displaying what those are. Okay, interesting. Let's close this. We're going to be doing database on the client side for this. So I'll just copy paste this. This is going to be create checkout session. And I think we'll probably give it the user ID. Interesting. Just copy paste this over. So the go to Firestore, which is what we've aliased the DB, and the collection is users, current user.user ID. I think we were just passing it in before. So we will do that instead so we can reference that specific user. The sub collection of checkout sessions, add a price. If I go back to here, was there supposed to be there's supposed to be prices underneath products as well. So I wonder if because I had previously created these before, let's see what happens here. Standard pricing, $50 recurring a month. Price description, premium, unlimited, sites and feedback. Sure. What I'm hoping then is triggering this pricing update will launch that webhook that is going to update that information in Firestore. Same with starter. One site and 1,000. I hate that the word feedback is both singular and plural. It's terrible. Save. Okay. So that successfully created the nested collection. So for starter, right, we want the prices, and this is the price ID I believe that it's looking for. So I don't like how you can't copy paste that easily. Okay, so that's the price ID looking at this. It's going to take the current URL, wait for the checkout session to get attached by the session. So snapshot, get the data of the session ID. If it exists, we have a session. Let's redirect to checkout. We need to initialize Stripe on the client side and then do the redirect based on that session ID. Okay? So let's see how we go about doing that. I did see something in here where we were setting up Stripe based on the publishable key, which is what this is, and then it returns that promise. I also wonder if this is defined a little bit more clearly inside of here. I don't think it does. I think it just tells you to go look at the source code. The thing about this is it's not a Next.js example. Not that it super matters, but I think I'm going to stick with this one just because it's Next.js specific. So this, where will we be doing checkout sessions? So the way he did it was he put this Stripe in a util that we can utilize it multiple times. That all looks good. Very well named, a thing, absolutely. So let's go back to here. We'll say we want to go to our I guess this would be under the lib. I'm getting really confused on lib or utils, but I think this would be a lib. Maybe that means I need to restructure things. And I'm going to kill the server and add the Stripe client-side JavaScript library. So load Stripe. Given this promise, we're going to say get Stripe. If it doesn't exist, we use this singleton to load Stripe based on the publishable key, and then return that and export. Which means that we also need to update the README for this new key, as well as our env local file, which, yeah, let's do that. And I'll need to get that, save this. Okay, that looks good. So I need to find the publishable key for Stripe. Okay, so load Stripe, and we were doing wait, get Stripe. Redirect to checkout based on the session ID. Checkout session ref. I'm wondering if I'm missing something because it didn't auto format when I saved, which leads me to believe that I might have done something wrong. I like how there's also a loading state in here. That could be pretty helpful. Okay, what am I missing here? Is it because we have an await inside here with no async? Potentially. I also don't know why inside of here I'm doing functions instead of arrow functions. Not that it super matters, but ooh. Yeah, I don't know that super matters. Okay. Where am I failing here? I guess we can try it out and it will blow up if I've done something wrong. So we're gonna want to call this create the checkout session when we click on a button. So let's rerun this locally, and to test this, let's actually make a new page. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Can't use the keyword await outside of an async function. Did I do something wrong here? Oh, wait. Whoa. That doesn't look right. What is it? I thought you were supposed to put it here, but maybe I'm doing something wrong. Oh, is it because this is asynchronous? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And now it formats. Okay, wow. Did that make it load? That made it load. Okay. So let's go to the index page. I'm going to steal this button. I'm gonna make a new page and we'll call it account, as we're gonna do more stuff here. And let's just take, we probably want to have the dashboard shell. So we'll start with this for the account, because it already has the hook for a user. Eventually we're gonna fetch some data here, probably like API user, and we'll do that eventually. For right now, just do the dashboard shell, and I'll take this fancy button, put that inside here. We'll call this upgrade to starter. On click, we're going to want to pass in the user ID to create a checkout session. User dot, is it UID or ID? I think it's UID. Okay, we can get rid of some of this stuff that we're not using for now. Save this, should auto format. Okay. I'm gonna need to be logged in, so I'm gonna log in. And let's go to account. I'm gonna make this go to account instead of log out, because I'll probably put the log out inside of here. Okay, button is not defined. Good call. Where's my autocomplete? When I'm streaming and my computer is running on all cylinders, it's just churning in the background. I can hear the fan spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Sometimes VS Code just not a fan. Let me make sure that's right. I could have, I don't know why I didn't just copy paste this in the first place. Because I'm probably gonna need more, but we'll cut this out for now. Okay, we have a button. See if we can render this. Should get our dashboard shell. Oh, that looks beautiful. Let's put this inside of just a box. And we don't want that GitHub icon. Okay, so clicking on this should create the checkout session based on the user's ID, use that price, and redirect us. I wonder if this is why I'll need a loading spinner, because I'm guessing this isn't going to happen instantaneously. Yes! Woo! That is awesome. Wow. So pumped. Okay, so email. Four two. Okay. Subscribe. Okay, my fake card worked. It redirects me back to the dashboard. Interesting. Yeah, because the success URL is the root page, and we have that check to see if we're logged in, and if so, take us to the dashboard. I don't know if, maybe I'll just change this to be the account page. I would assume you would want to see your changes here. Let's go look in our database and see what this looks like. So for users, I wonder if there's a good, let's try this. I haven't tried to use this yet. Nice. Okay, so Lee, that's me. Checkout sessions. Okay, that looks good. I guess I would have expected it to update my user with information about which role I have. So I would have expected it to see the Firebase role of starter. Let's see. I see the user created. It's on the starter subscription, okay. That all looks good. So why, maybe I can go look at webhooks. Checkout sessions, payment methods. That all looks good. But I still don't see that role synced back. So if I go to, I can close this out. Okay, right, we don't need to list the available products because we have that working. Start a subscription, we did that. Subscription details are synced to the subscription sub-collection in a user's document. Users at ID sub-collection subscriptions or status is active. So yeah, I would have expected, I wonder, I mean, it definitely found this user at the ID and made the checkout session. So why is there no subscription? So we had subscribe, given that price ID, and that set loading to true, called all of this in exactly the same way. Customer. I'm wondering if I needed to choose a different database location or collection for users. Because it doesn't seem like it properly updated this with the subscription. Unless I forgot something for writing. Customer subscription updated, deleted. Let's make sure that that webhook is right. Error rate 44%. Okay, so something, aha, should have looked here. Session completed, So it failed to deliver. Webhook handler failed. Session created, subscription updated. View the logs, okay? If I go back to here, that's not what I wanted. This is the first time I've messed with Firebase functions, so I'm interested to see how this works. Okay. It's not very easy to read. I wonder if I'm just thinking about my database rules specifically, and I know that in their example, the way I have is user, right, is if this exists, it's not equal to null and it's equal. I might want to just double check. So the customer collection, users at user ID, allow read and write if the request.auth.user ID is equal to that user ID. I mean, that looks right to me. Maybe there's something here. These are nested. Yep, nested. Checkout sessions ID, allowed read write if user. Yeah, that all looks right. Because this definitely worked. I would like to see a log that said that it had trouble writing, because it got a 400. Checkout session completed, yes. Customer subscription updated, checkouts. So we definitely have those event types here. Is it possible that I screwed up something with the API key? So let's go back to here. Write access for customers, checkout sessions, and customer portal. So write for customers, checkout sessions, and customer portal. And read-only access for the subscriptions resource. Okay, everything is correct there. So I know that my API key is good. I know that my webhook has the correct permissions. So the fact that it's getting a 400 when trying to communicate with Firebase kind of leads me to believe that it's either my rules or some configuration that's not right. So what I kind of want to try is copying this verbatim and putting it inside here. Even though it looks like it's doing the exact same thing, I'm just going to, can I comment? I can. Let's see. We'll see if this works. Okay, correctly redirects me back. Let's throw a little refresh on here. Still nothing as far as a subscription resource. Interesting. So when I tried again at 106, which is right now, it failed. But then it was able to create it. That has me a little confused how one of them could fail, but the others couldn't, especially even though it's saying that it worked, but I'm not seeing anything else in here. I don't know if it's potentially putting it in a different location. It shouldn't be though, because it's based on that ID. Handler failed. View logs. The response says to view logs. To me, that means the logs on this side. Okay. I'm figuring out how to debug this properly now. Webhook handler for the Stripe event failed because the user was not found. Trying to figure out how that could be, considering it definitely does exist. So let's see. I wonder if it's possible that when I set this up, the fact that the user already exists, it's causing a problem. One thing that I could do is look into the actual source code of the extension. Firebase Stripe extension. create customer on create. I guess I could look specifically where this log was coming from, right? User not found. Manage subscription status change. So when trying to go to the customer collections path, which we have set as users, where the Stripe ID is equal to the customer ID, I wonder, okay, I think I'm seeing where the disconnect is here. My user was already created in the database through Firebase authentication. So because of that, it looks like it never got the value for Stripe ID. So I can really think of two ways to go forward here. Either I can switch that function to put it to a new table. So there's a differentiator between a user and a customer, or I feel like I would have to update all of the existing users. Because it's looking for the Stripe ID, but it's not found. And when it tries to create a customer, it says, okay, create this customer inside of Firebase. And then there should be a Stripe ID and a Stripe link. So that's definitely what I'm missing. What's interesting to me is that when I look at my customers inside of Stripe, right, they're definitely created. And if I look at, let's do webhooks or events. I'm trying to see if in here it shows it creating. So it shows it creating the customer, right? But this functions.auth is from Firestore, right? So when we create a new user in Firestore, then it creates the customer in Stripe. Interesting. So even renaming this, I'm wondering if when I hit that initially, if it's going to go here. This is interesting. I might have to dive into this more because my assumption is that when doing these example applications, right, you're signing up for the first time and you're not adding new functionality into an existing application. Let's try switching to a new column for customers. I don't know that I like that going forward, having two separate tables, but because it would be nice to have everything inside of the same one. What I don't know is if I were to sign in with like a different account somehow, if that would fix things. It's an interesting situation because I'm assuming when people build this, they don't build it into an app that is already existing. What else was on our agenda here? This is tripping me up a little bit. We've talked about the bugs. We've set up Stripe. We have talked about the extension Firebase functions. We redirected to checkout. We could start getting the code in for billing while we're waiting this to finish. Let's see. Loading, go to app. What is app? Oh, Firebase. Firebase.app? That's a new one. And this is client-side Firebase. Find your function, create the portal link, do this. So we could start getting this created. Just copy paste this. We'll say go to billing portal. It doesn't take in any user ID. Okay. Function ref, app, US Central. Okay. Get some data back from the function and assign that URL. So really I just need app. And for that, I might have to change. Right now we're just exporting this, but we also need Firebase functions. Reconfigure this. Okay, init Firebase, export database, which I'm guessing that we're doing inside of here, or app. Let's do that instead. So we're going to export Firestore or app, and those are named exports, so we're going to need to change this to Firestore and app. You can get rid of this. Same with here. It looks like this is blowing up because we need Firebase. Oh, we're calling auth inside here as well. Now I'm debating what is more clean. Is it more clean to just export Firebase and then allow us to export these things? I'm kind of leaning towards just doing it the way I was doing it. Oops. Because then we don't have to change anything here. And in the database, as with everything, there's multiple ways to do it and not necessarily a right way, but I'm happy with that. Let's make sure this is still loading. Okay, still loading. I'll go back to our account page here. We'll also throw another button on here. View billing portal. And this is going to, what do we call that? Go to billing portal. Don't need to do that. And that's also going to come from our database. Okay, that looks good. Let's check in on this guy. It has finished, so now it should be going to customers. Go back to here. For my sanity, I'll throw some margin on there. Let's give this a shot again. Check the logs. Here, let's go to functions. Go to logs. And we'll just hang out here for a second. Definitely need to do that loading state next, because I can't tell if it's going or if it's not going. It doesn't look like it's going though. Interesting. So it definitely created the new sessions, but I don't see it redirecting. I'm gonna try restarting the server. So we should have been getting the session ID. Oh, interesting. So you see these had the session ID, but these never seemed to go. It looks like the same thing happened. So we're getting our checkout session ref. It's definitely getting created. But I don't know if we're getting back a session ID. It doesn't look like we are. Interesting. So we get back our ref, but it doesn't look like we're getting the session ID. Wonder if I need to await this. Doesn't look like it. So why is this all of a sudden not working? Let's try logging out. Ooh, maybe this is what it is. Missing or insufficient permissions. I wonder if I needed, before I can allow Firebase functions, if there's something else I need to do configuration-wise on the Firebase side. I guess what I'm really curious about is if logging in, even though I already have a user created, is going to trigger the connection with Stripe. Where'd I go? Okay. Payments are definitely quite the ordeal. Especially when it worked, and now it doesn't. Really the only thing I changed was adding functions here. So if I go back to here, let's just comment this out for now, because maybe I'm missing some permissions that I don't know about. Go, okay, well, can't do that. I do have a hunch that it has something to do with permissions, because that why would that be getting created but not having the session ID? Oh, I think it's because this was changed from users to customers. That would make sense. I still don't know if this is going to work though, because I've already had the account created unless I manually link this in the database. That's where it's kind of falling down in my mental model. And yeah, I can totally give an overview of what was going on with payments. Okay, yep, this is making sense. So I made this new customers table, but I didn't, the Firebase rules were incorrect. So I had already done the Firebase rules for users, but we need one for customers as well. And really, I mean, it sounds like I'm not going to have this inside of here, so I can comment that out for now. Kind of the TLDR with payments is that I have initialized Stripe. I have installed the Stripe Firebase extension so that my Firestore database and Firebase authentication are connected to Stripe via webhooks. So if I update products or prices, it syncs, and supposedly when I create customers, that should also sync. The issue I'm running into right now is that when I create a customer, I'm not seeing that, or when I create a subscription to a product, I'm not seeing that update in Firestore, which leads me to believe that because my account is already in Firestore, it didn't get the Stripe ID, which it looks like it's supposed to be setting when it creates a customer. So I'm wondering if it's because I already had this existing users collection and if I needed a new one called customers. That's kind of where I'm at right now. So I was able to successfully create this. What doesn't make sense to me here is, like, this seems right. I created a new collection and I added this data, which is there. So now when it's finished, it's saying to grab the session ID, which I think where this is falling down is Stripe was supposed to update this when it was created, but it's not. Because this would be checkout session completed. But it's not even coming through for that. Because when a checkout session was completed, it should communicate back. Maybe I'll go back to the documentation and see if I missed something that is obvious. I have the correct Firestore rules. That's all set up. Products are fine. I wonder if this is where I'm getting caught up. The quickest way to do it is with the Firebase UI library. The extension listens for new users signing up and then automatically creates a Stripe customer object and a customer record. So it only listens for new users signing up, not necessarily I already have an account, I just haven't done this yet. Very interesting. Extension? The extension will update the document with the Stripe checkout session ID. So it's supposed to get this from Stripe. But to me, some of that communication appears to not be working. And this part wouldn't even really matter because we're not even getting a session ID back. So why is the communication when the extension should be updating that not working? Do I need to go look at checkout session creation failed? Cannot read property stripe ID of undefined. So what doesn't make sense here to me is that it worked before, but I didn't have a stripe ID on there at that time either. Okay. All right, right here, checkout session created. So the first time I ran this, it successfully created the checkout session, but then failed to communicate with Stripe when trying to add the subscription because it said that the user was not found based on the Stripe ID. Now, when trying to create the the checkout session, it says that it can't read the property Stripe ID of undefined. My next guess and attempt to fix this will be going into here and blowing away my user. The only downside to this will be that I'm gonna have to go through and update the ID in a bunch of places, which isn't great. So first things first, maybe what would be even better is, let me go to my feedback. And just delete all of these. Okay. And if I go to sites, you know, I have a few sites, but we're just gonna have to delete those. So let me find my user. L. Robinson. I think it's probably by my, yeah. All right, I don't know if this is going to be good or bad, but we're going to delete my user out of the database. So my user is gone. When I sign in, so this seems right. I get redirected to my dashboard. It says I have no sites or feedback because I have a brand new user. I'm gonna have to go update some data, but that's fine. Now here's where I'm really curious. Interesting. So the extension worked in this sense that it created a link between my user and Stripe. So my assumption then is if I try to create the checkout session, it should work. So what happened there? I think my page reloaded. That's really interesting that that works. To me, that I'm gonna have to figure out a way to update users, given that this is like a test environment. I don't know that I want to necessarily just delete everything and start fresh. But given that I have a new user, it successfully works with the extension. Since I already had existing users in the database, it wasn't able to make that link between a user and a customer in Stripe. It also was able to auto-populate the email because it had the customer in Stripe. So now here's where I'm really curious, is if this will then successfully update the subscription back on that model in the database. If so, then I should be fine to go back to the user model and save that information there. I just need to figure out a way to gracefully handle users that already exist. So if I go to here, let me refresh. There it is. Okay, wow. So I have a subscription, when it was created, the price specifically that it's for, the quantity, a role of starter, and it's active. Okay. Very, very interesting. I'm assuming it didn't change anything here. Yeah, it didn't change anything here. Okay, that's good. So now, I guess while I have this working, I really want to see if this billing portal will work. So I'm going to try to add this back in and see if there's anything else I need to do to talk to this Firebase function. So I have the app, and then inside of here, Firebase functions. If we remember in the account, I have this button that says go to the billing portal, which should app is not a function. It's not, because I already set it up there. Okay, save that, reload. Doesn't look like that worked. Oh, it's just slow. It works! It works! Finally. Awesome. Okay, so long story short, I had to create a fresh user in Firestore before it recognized that and was able to successfully make the link between Firebase and Stripe. Now that it's actually linked, I'm able to do all the things that I would expect to be able to do. Let's try updating a plan to premium. This redirects me back to my application. If I go to customers, subscriptions, I'm on premium. Okay, awesome. So Stripe is successfully updating that object in the database if I switch which subscription I'm on, and I got it working. Super happy. This stream has already went way over the hour time that I usually try to stick around, but I didn't want to end this without figuring it out. There's still a little bit of work that needs to be done here, because even though I was able to make it work by deleting my user and making one from scratch. I don't know that I necessarily want to do that for all users, but at the same time, I'm not sure how I would get that link between them and a customer in Stripe. So I'm going to have to send out a message to Stripe and see what their recommendation would be here. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to call this stream. We got most of the things done that I wanted, even though we got definitely stuck a little bit on the billing and checkout piece. But I learned a lot. I feel a lot better now about this integration. The fact that it actually works really slick is exciting to me. There wasn't really that much code that I had to wrangle with here now that it works. And it's really setting that groundwork for the next stream, which I'll try to polish this off a little bit more. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in for those watching live, and for those watching at a later date, you won't have to stumble through the same problems that I did. So thanks everyone.